Welcome to Cookie List channel. Today I'm going to talk about anime the quintessential quintuplets. So let's begin. Futaro Usagi is a second-year high school boy. He shows up at school and orders a yakiniku meal without beef. Because after deducting the price of beef from the meal, it becomes the cheapest meal in the school canteen, which is equal to 200 yen. He sees an empty table, and places his meal on it at the same moment with a girl named Itsuki, and they sit together. Futaro was shocked by her meal, which costs 1,030 yen, which means she is from a very wealthy family. Itsuki takes Futaro's exam result sheet, and shocked because he got the full mark. She asks him to teach her, but he refuses and leaves. He got a call from his sister Raiha, and she tells that his father has found a job for him as a private teacher for a rich family, with a salary equal to 5 times the market. Then he knows that the girl he has to teach is the same girl he met in the school canteen. He tries to talk to her, but she is upset with him and refused. A girl named Ichika talks to him and thinks that he likes Itsuki and offers to help him, but he refused. Another girl named Yotsuba also talks to him and returns his exam paper that fell from him. While he is waiting for Itsuki outside, a girl named Miku comes to him and thinks that he is following the girls to harass them, but he tells her that she is wrong. He follows Itsuki to her house in a luxurious building. But a girl named Nino stops him and tells him that he is not a resident of the building, but he avoids her and continues to follow Itsuki. He reaches and tells her that he is the new private teacher. Then 4 girls come out of the elevator, and they are Ichika, Nino, Yotsuba and Miku. Itsuki tells him that she and her sisters are quintuplets. Futaro enters the house and Yotsuba comes to him, but the rest of the girls are in their rooms. They knock on Itsuki's room door, but she refuses to go out to study. Then they knock Miku's room door, but she also refuses. Then they enter Ichika's room and find her sleeping, and the room is full of chaos. Futaro pulls the cover off of her, but she stops him because she was naked. He asks her to get dressed and follow him. When they meet in the room to study, no one listens to him and no one focuses. Nino brought to him a glass of water. He drinks it and wakes up in a taxi in front of his house with Itsuki. It turns out that the water glass contained a hypnotic. Raiha invites Itsuki to dinner, but she refuses, and after she saw Raiha's sad face, she accepts. Before leaving, Itsuki told Futaro that she would agree to him to be a private teacher, and Futaro was very happy. In the next day, the teacher and the quintuplets gather in the living room, and Futaro tells them that they have to pass an exam, and the passing score is 50. The exam starts, and when they finished, none of them got pass, and Miku got the highest mark, which is 32. Futaro arrives to school on his feet, and the girls arrive in a luxury car. He asks the girls the first question in their exam, which is a question about the name of a Sengoku-era leader, but none of them answer. Futaro thinks of a way to get close to the girls, and when he checks Miku's answers, he finds that she answered the first question correctly. He tries to get close to Miku, but Yotsuba interrupts them and says that she wants to enjoy her youth and make love. Futaro says that love is a reckless act and has nothing to do with studying. Yotsuba asks Miku if she loves someone, but she refuses to answer. Then Yotsuba and Ichika conclude that Miku is in love with someone. Futaro enters the class and finds a message from Miku. It says that she is waiting for him on the rooftop, and there is something she wants to tell and can no longer hold back her feelings. Futaro realizes that he is the person that Miku loves. He goes to the rooftop, and Miku comes. Then she tells him the name of the leader of the Shingoku era, which is the answer to his question he asked earlier. Futaro was surprised, and Miku tries to leave, but he stops her, this causing her phone to fall. He sees the words of one of Shingoku's leader in the background of her phone. Miku confesses that she is a fan of the Sengoku era because of a game she had played before. He encourages her and decides to teach Japanese history in the next private lesson, and Miku agrees. She gives him a drink as a gift of friendship, then says one of the leader's quotes, but Futaro didn't remember the name of that leader, which leads Miku to refusing study. Futaro went to the library and took many books about the leaders of the Shingoku era. After reading them, he meets Miku to answer all her questions, but she ran away from him and he ran after her. While running, he bumps into a girl's chest, and this girl is Miku, but she is disguised and has made herself look like Yotsuba. Futaro apologizes to her and continues running, but he sees Yotsuba and realizes that Miku has disguised, and runs after her. After they get tired, they sit down, and Futaro brings Miku's favorite drink, and he tells her that she is smarter than her sisters, and promises that he will teach them all to succeed in school. Futaro meets Yotsuba at the library, then Miku comes to take a book about the Shingoku era. Yotsuba asks Miku, "Isn't the person that you love is Futaro?" Miku was ashamed of the question. Futaro arrives at the girls' building but finds the door is locked. Miku tells him that he must have an entry card, or call the apartment to open the door. He enters their house and finds Yotsuba in Ichika's room. Yotsuba finds underwear in the room and asks Futaro what he thinks of it, but he doesn't pay any attention to her, which makes her angry. After they meet in the living room, Nino tells Yotsuba that her basketball teammates need help, which forces her to leave. Then tells Ichika that she is late for her work, which also forces her to leave. And then suggests Itsuki to go to a quiet place, like the library, and she leaves too. Then she asks Miku to buy her juice to leave, but Miku has already brought the juice. Nino finds that Miku and Futaro have become friends, and she tells Miku that she should choose a friend who is more beautiful than him, because his face is boring. Then they hear Futaro's stomach sound, which means he is hungry. Nino challenges Miku with cooking, and if Nino wins, there will be no private lesson. They start the challenge. Nino cooks Dutch baby, and Miku cooks rice omelette. They offer the two dishes to Futaro to choose which one is the most delicious. After he eats, he says that they are both delicious. This makes Nino angry. Then Miku talks to Futaro and tells him that he has to be honest with Nino in order to get close to her. This can make her study and not make trouble. Futaro leaves the building, but forgot his educational card. He comes back and enters the house, but he sees Nino has finished taking a shower and doesn't wear her contact lenses, so she can't see him clearly, and she thinks he is her sister Miku. While searching for his lost card, Nino approaches him. Then a group of books was about to fall on her that forced Futaro to throw her to the ground to save her. Nino realizes that he is Futaro and accuses him of trying to harass her. Meanwhile, Itsuki takes a photo of them. Then they begin to prosecute him at home, and Miku reveals to them that he is innocent because he talks to her before returning home to get his lost card. Then they find books in the picture, and thus they realize that he is innocent, and he was trying to help her. Nino gets angry because they stood by him, and decides to get out of the building. Futaro finds Nino at building door, and she tries to enter, but the door was closed, and she cannot contact her sisters because she's sad. Futaro tries to get close to her, but she decides that she won't let him teach her. Then Miku reaches the building door, and opens it for Nino to enter. In the next day, it's a holiday and Futaro is at home, and Itsuki comes to his house, and gives him 50,000 yen for teaching the girls for 2 days. Then Raiha asks them to take her to the arcade game center. They went to there, and when they done, Futaro asks Itsuki about the homework she has to finish, and it seems she hasn't. Then they meet the rest of the girls, and decide to watch the fireworks, but Futaro forces them to finish their homework first. When they are done, they go with Futaro and his sister. Yotsuba buys fish and fireworks for Raiha, and tells him that Nino has rented a rooftop, so they can watch the fireworks. Miko tells Futaro that she and her sisters and mother watch fireworks every year, and after her mother died, they still meeting every year to watch the fireworks. Meanwhile, Nino gets lost in the festival, but Futaro finds her and asks her to catch him so she doesn't get lost. Then they reach the rooftop. Nino tells him that the sisters don't know where the roof is. Then they try to contact the rest of her sisters, but the network is down, which forces Futaro to search for them at the festival. Futaro finds Ichika, but finds her accompanied by a person with a mustache. The person asks him, "Who are you?" And while Futaro thinks what to tell him, he finds that they have disappeared. Then he finds Miku, and asks her to accompany him to the roof, but she was injured in her foot. He tries to carry her to the roof, but she is heavy, then decides to treat her foot. He asks her about that person who was with Ichika, and she tells him that she doesn't know who he is, but she saw him with her before. Then 2 girls who are doing research ask Futaro about his relationship with Miku, so that they thinks they are lovers because they hold hands. He tells them that they are just acquaintances, and this makes Miku angry. Futaro leaves Miku and goes to find the rest of the girls. He finds Itsuki at the festival and tells her that they should meet Miku and then go to the rooftop. But on the way, Ichika holds his hand and takes him to a deserted alley. Ichika asks him to keep what he saw a secret and not to interfere in their affairs because he is just a private teacher. She tries to go but finds that person with the mustache and tells Futaro that she will be in trouble if he sees her, so she hug him to hide. Ichika tells Futaro that they are friends, but he tells her that they are just acquaintances. She says that this hurts her feelings. Then Futaro realizes that this hurt Miku's feelings as well, because he says to Miku the same thing. Suddenly they find that the person with the mustache holds Miku's hand and goes, thinking it was Ichika because she changed her hairstyle. They follow them and Futaro catches her, and the person with the mustache asks him what their relationship is. He says that he is their partner, and that the person mistook Miko and Ichika. Then Ichika goes with the person, and Futaro follows her, telling him that she is an actress and the person with the mustache is her assistant, and she is going to audition. She gives him the script and starts to act out a scene in front of him, and he was impressed, then she gets in the car and goes. She enters the audition, her performance was amazing, and the committee impressed. Then she returns to Futaro, who was sleeping but his eyes were open. He gets up and goes to the garden where the rest of her sisters gather there to celebrate. Ichika apologizes for her mistake because the fireworks festival is over and they haven't met, and then they continue the celebration. Futaro is sitting on the chair, then Ichika thanks him but he has fallen asleep, then she makes him sleep on her thighs. The next day, Ichika meets Futaro and says that she had told her sisters about her work as an actress, and they were very happy for her. The teacher announces that midterm exams will start next week. Futaro meets Itsuki and she tells that her father wants to talk to him. The father tells him that if one of his daughters fails, he will be fired from his work as a private teacher. This made Futaro nervous. Futaro tells Itsuki that she got poor marks in today's test, and in order to be self-reliant, he tells her that if she needs help she should tell him, but this makes Itsuki sad. Futaro meets the girls at home and they studied for a while, then Itsuki comes and goes to her room to study by herself. Then Futaro goes to the shower, and one of the girls knocks on the door and tells him it's Itsuki and asks him what he wants to tell, and tells her that the father will expel him if one of the girls fails the exam. The girl enters the bathroom and it's Nino, not Itsuki, and she'll do whatever she can to get him fired. Futaro comes out and says, "Who has a question about studying?" Miku asks him what kind of girl do you like? He was surprised by the question and says that he will give the types of girls he likes, but they have to finish studying a whole page to tell them. They agree. Yotsuba finishes a page, and he tells them about type 3, which is always cheerful. Then Miku finishes, and he telling them about type number 2, which is skillful in cooking. Then Ichika finishes, and he telling them about type 1, which is she loves her brother. Nino says he is talking about his sister and it is unfair. Miku is frustrated because she is not of any kind of this types. Itsuki comes out of her room because of the noise, and looks sad and then goes back. Ichika tells Futaro that Itsuki does not show her emotions, and is often very sad in her room because she is studying alone. Miku tells Futaro that he can sleep in her room, and she will sleep in Ichika's room. In the midnight, Miku goes to the bathroom, and when she comes back she sleeps in her room next to Futaro. In the morning, Futaro wakes up surprised that Miku is sleeping next to him. Everyone waked up except Miku and no one knows where she is. Ichika and Nino changed Itsuki's hairstyle to resemble Miku, so that Futaro will teach her. Futaro tries to go out from the room, so that no one would notice that he was sleeping with Miku. He sees Itsuki on the door, and she has combed her hair like Miku, but he knows that it is Itsuki because of her dress, and he has to close the door, so that she does not know that Miku is inside, and that makes her angry. They all went to the library except Miku and Itsuki. Futaro returns to the building to teach Itsuki, and lies to her that he thinks she is Miku, and she agrees to teach her. After a while, Futaro wakes up, and everyone has spent the night studying because today is the exam. Futaro looks at the clock and finds it is 8:10, and the exam starts at 8:30. Everyone gets up and runs to school. Yotsuba arrives before 8:30, but the rest are late and the guard won't let them in. They disguise themselves as Yotsuba to pass. The midterm exam begins, and every girl does her best. On the day of the exam results, everyone gathers in the library, and says what their results are. Everyone fails, but each of them succeeded in one subject only. The father calls, and Futaro was about to tell him that his daughters failed, but Nino takes the phone, and lies to her father and tells him that they passed all the subjects. When Futaro returns home, his father tells his sister that when Futaro was young he was not interested in studying, and shows her his old picture in Futaro's notebook. Then Futaro goes to the girl's house, and Miku cooks croquet, but it tastes very bad. Futaro lies and says that it tastes delicious, but Yotsuba disagrees with him. Miku asks him to eat a lot, to prove that it is delicious, which leads to Futaro suffering from a stomach disease. Itsuki and Nino decide to go to lunch outside, and Futaro asks Yotsuba to lie to them, so that they won't go out and stay at home to study. Yotsuba tells them that Futaro has a serious stomach disease, and if he moves he will die. They didn't believe her, but Futaro uses ketchup to convince them. Yotsuba asks Nino to cook rice for him, and when she finishes, she stumbles and the hot rice falls on his face, causing him to stand. Here they realize he was lying to them. They go out and Futaro remains with Yotsuba alone. Yotsuba confesses that she loves him, and after he was surprised, she tells him that she was joking. They went to the school library, and there was a school trip. Futaro brings scary masks, because he is the supervisor of the courage test on the trip. Ichika asked for Futaro's email, then sends him a message before she leaves, telling him to collect all girls' emails, or else his sleeping picture will be published. He quickly takes Miku's email and then goes and takes Itsuki's email, and Nino asks him to give her a notebook to write the email on it. He gives her his own notebook and then takes Yotsuba's email. And when he returns home, he finds that he did not save Nino's email and remembers that he forgot his notebook with her. He returns to their house and asks her to return the notebook. She asks him to pierce her ear to take it. While he doing that, he tries to take the notebook, but it falls on the ground. Nina sees his old picture and says that she loved this person. He tells her that this person is his cousin, but in fact this is his old picture. And she didn't see the whole picture, as there is a girl with him, and it looks like the girl he loves. They go to school and Miku disguises herself as Ichika because Ichika has to go to shoot a drama, and Futaro sees her doing this. Someone talks to Miku and thinks she is Ichika and confesses that he likes her and wants to dance with her in the trip camp. Futaro overhears them and enters. Miku says that she will dance with Futaro and they are lovers. Futaro and the girls went to buy clothes for him for the trip. When they done, Futaro finds missed calls from his father and runs home to see Raiha have a fever. In the morning, it seems that Raiha has recovered from her fever. Then Itsuki enters Futaro's house and takes him to school trip. They reached a hotel and they will all sleep in one room. Then the girls went to take a bath in hot water. When they come back, they find Futaro asleep, and they all sleep too. Ichika wakes up and finds herself next to Futaro, and the rest of her sisters scattered. She approaches him, and it seems she like him very much. Itsuki sees her from the outside and was shocked. Then they board the bus and continue the trip. They arrive to the trip site. Futaro and Yotsuba disguise to fright the students in order to test their courage. Then Futaro scares Nino and Itsuki, which leads them to running away. Nino gets lost in the forest and then Futaro comes to her aid. She thinks he is his cousin, who she saw him in the picture, because he was wearing a wig. He lies to her and claims that he is Futaro's cousin, so that she does not get angry. She finds a wound on his head and puts a plaster on it. Then they hear frightening sounds and run away, but Nino runs in the wrong direction and almost falls into the valley, but Futaro saves her. Nino loves Futaro because of her rescue and asks him to dance with her in the camp. Itsuki appears after she was lost. Futaro takes advantage of Nino's busyness and hides from her. Then he meets Miku and Ichika leaves them alone because she knows Miku loves him. Futaro asks Miku about Nino, which makes her angry. Then he goes with Ichika to pick up the wood, and remembers that he must choose either to dance with Ichika, or with Nino disguised as a wig. He apologizes to Ichika because he will not dance with her. This made her cry. At this moment some girls enter. Futaro and Ichika hide. Then they hear the sound of door locking. They get stuck inside the warehouse. Futaro tries to break the door, but Ichika prevents him from doing this, because there is an alarm that calls for security, and also because she doesn't want Miku to see them alone. He asks her to climb on his back, and she seems to have feelings to him, but she was heavy on him, and they couldn't reach the alarm to disable it. He scratches wood to make a fire. Meanwhile Yotsuba goes to her sisters Miku and Itsuki and tells them that Ichika and Futaro have disappeared. Miku and Itsuki decide to search for them. Futaro manages to start a fire, then Ichika asks him to dance with her, but he tells her a dance legend which says that the two dancers will be romantically linked forever. She asks him if Miku knows about this, and he replies that she knows. This caused her remorse. Her foot hits a big plank and almost falls on her, but Futaro saves her and they fall to the ground. The plank causes the alarm to sound, then Miku and Itsuki see them alone. Futaro says they didn't believe them. Then they all go skiing, and Futaro falls off the plaster that Nino put on him when he was wearing the wig. Nino finds the plaster, and follows him and he starts running away. Then he hides in a small snow hut, where Miku is there. While they are together, Miku seems to love him very much, but she doesn't tell him about her feelings. Then everyone gathers except Itsuki, and it seems that Futaro is sick due to the transmission of the fever to him. Everyone decides to search for Itsuki. Ichika and Futaro went together for search, and he reveals Itsuki that she was disguised, and Itsuki apologizes to him. Due to the high fever, Futaro faints. The camp dance party begins, and the 5 girls went to Futaro's room. They hold his hand when the camp dance party ends, and according to legend, if 2 people hold each other's hand when the party ends, they will be romantically linked forever. Futaro wakes up and gets mad at the girls for not letting him sleep. In the next day they all gather while they are going to school, and Futaro tells them that they have to study well for the final exam. And the first season ends here. Thank you for watching. If you have an anime series or movie that you want me to make a video about it, please tell me in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel.